Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are going to be having an information session today from the Johns Hopkins Center for Global Health to kind of wrap up our last session of the day for our nonprofit and NGO Industry Day. So, Megan, if you'd want to just share a little bit about yourself, and then, of course, the Center for Global Health.
Sure. Thanks so much, Olivia. And thanks for just hosting this event. I think this is a really great time of year. People are just thinking, what are next steps, whether you're graduating in December or you're in the middle of your program, you're maybe looking for a practicum. It can definitely be overwhelming. So glad to see those of you who have joined. Welcome. So yeah, my name is Megan Harrison. I'm a research associate in the Department of International Health. And I am kind of like the program officer position for the Center for Global Health. And yeah, a little bit of background about me. I came to Hopkins about 10 years ago, and I did my Master of Science in Public Health in the Social and Behavioral Interventions program in International Health Department. And it was a great experience. And then I ended up sticking around. I got a senior research program coordinator position right after graduating in the health systems department. And I worked on like large scale community-based clinical epi, mostly in maternal and newborn health research. And also had opportunities to work on implementation research, some mixed method stuff. So really kind of got the when you enter into a coordinator's position, you kind of just get like launched into what it's like almost to be like a mini PI. And then right before COVID, I actually transitioned to working at the Center for Global Health, which has been really cool. To still do some of that science, but also do a little bit of the capacity building part, the relationships building component. And then, of course, also working with students and helping them to kind of find their way, while they're at Hopkins still in their programs, helping with things like practicums, but also, helping people figure out how do I launch, how do I transition in the field of global health and kind of transition from being a student to, being part of the workforce in global health. I'm sure all of you have had different paths to getting to global health. I think the cool part of being in such an interdisciplinary field and a multidisciplinary field as well is just the diversity of our experiences, just where we come from, around the world, but also where do we come from as far as just schools of thought, different skills that we have, different methodologies that we kind of lean toward to kind of solve some of the global health problems. But with that breadth, it can also be difficult sometimes to people can find it, I think, challenging to say, okay, but where do I start? Like it's so big. And especially coming from your programs at Hopkins, I'm not sure exactly. Maybe you guys could just like maybe type in the chat if you're able to, just so I can kind of see maybe where you guys are at. If you're MSPH students, if you're MPH, or maybe you're something else, doctoral students, et cetera. I would love to just have a glance at that in the chat if you don't mind. But yeah, if you're at Hopkins and at Bloomberg, probably most of you, and you take a variety of these methodology classes, and so you really kind of you might come in thinking, oh, I'm strictly a qualitative person, or I'm strictly an epi person, or quantitative, but then you come out of these programs with really probably one of the strongest mixes of methodological training, compared to other schools. So you really do have the world is your oyster, so to speak. So that's my little intro. And then I do have also on the line, Catherine. I'll introduce you briefly, just to let everybody know that they'll be hearing from you, but you can stay muted for now while I go through this. But I also have with me my research assistant, Catherine Noon. She's an SBI student as well, in her second year, and she's currently actually on her global health established field placement practicum experience in Tanzania. So I wanted to have her join us as well for some conversation later, just to help answer any questions and just even share just some of her experience as a student and kind of navigating this world of finding practicums, and now she's looking for a job as well. So just a little bit of background here on the Center for Global Health. The mission of the Center for Global Health is to catalyze global health activities across the university. So it's actually a university-wide center for students, faculty, and collaborators. And we do this through innovative approaches to resource sharing, convening, and applied learning experiences. And so we do research, education, service, policy. We also have, of course, learning opportunities for students. Our core activities are really to convene, catalyze, coordinate, serve as a hub for global health resources for the university, and to coordinate global health activities across JHU, kind of helping to break down the silos that so often we can find, within the School of Public Health, but also just across the university itself. And then another big part of the heart behind the Center for Global Health is fostering equitable collaborations with our international partners, and leading other academic institutions as well towards best practices for fostering equitable collaborations. I'm just going to let some more people in. Okay. So one of our most famous, I'll just start with it, the most famous program that students usually find us for is for the Global Health Established Field Placement Program. And let me just look here and see in the chat. It looks like, okay, we have MPH, MSPH, full-time MPH, part-time MPH. Okay, so it looks like a lot of MPH. So I won't harp. Oh, some MSPH. Okay, great, cool. So all looks like it's about.
I didn't get that. Oh. Could you try again?
Oops. Sorry, Siri. Didn't mean to interrupt you. Wait, sorry about that. So it looks like it's pretty balanced. So yeah, for the Global Health Established Field Placement, this one is really geared towards students who are in 2-year programs. So that's mostly going to be our MSPH students, some of the some of the MHS students as well. This might apply to, and of course the doctoral students as well. This is a practicum opportunity that is attached to a travel grant as well. So this is a great opportunity for students to really just gain that international experience. Some students come in and, maybe you've had opportunities, whether in undergrad or just in your personal lives, to volunteer or to work abroad. But, others, really they haven't. They're just interested in international health, and that's how you find yourself here, but you haven't really gone anywhere and worked anywhere yet, which is totally fine. This is what the training's for. And so what happens is JHU, mostly Bloomberg, faculty and staff prepare placements for their students at their projects in low and middle income countries. So usually it's the PI who has an established scope of work, and they're saying, okay, this would be really great to bring in a student on. And so they sort of propose those scopes of work to us at the center. And then we screen them to make sure that they are, an adequate scope of work, something that would definitely keep students busy, have them integrated pretty well into the local sites. And then what we do is we will put those on our website, and then students in January are able to go ahead and kind of browse through these different listings, and you can choose 3 of them to apply to. You'll ultimately be selected for one if you're selected, but you can apply for up to 3 of these placements that you're interested in, with the hopes of getting one. And so these placements, they vary in length, with a minimum of 8 to 10 weeks in country. And you can ignore this next. Yeah, so students this means students are not allowed to travel. So ignore this actually. We had some, just with COVID, a couple of different things that we changed, but for right now, the most important thing is minimum of 8 to 10 weeks in country. selected students will be awarded a grant of up to $3,500 to help just offset, the costs of traveling to a new location. So it can be anything from visa fees to flights to transportation to cost of living while you're there. And these placement sites, they're not required to pay students hourly wages because this is a practicum experience. But some sites are able to also provide additional support. Some can pay wages. It really depends on what their budgets look like. But others are able to also support with housing or transportation, or some food, lunches, etc. So it's not, I would say, uh universal, I guess, like what everybody's able to provide, which is kind of the nature of global health projects in general. Some have really big budgets, some have smaller budgets. So but all the students will get a travel grant of $3,500. And the cycle for this, for the students, it will open up in January 2024. That is when you'll be able to log on to our website and you can see, which I'll write that down for you a little bit later. So you can go to our website, but that's when that will open. And then applications are due in February. And then all the PIs, they kind of look at the student applications, and then they will rank the students in order of preference. And then students will also rank the sites that they have applied to in order of preference. And then we kind of do like a matching algorithm to see who's matched. This is another opportunity. This is for physicians who are residents or fellows. I don't believe that this would really apply to anybody, it looks like, who has noted here. But if you know any residents or fellows, we have the Paul S. Lietman Global Health Travel Grant for residents and fellows. And this is a travel grant for a rotation abroad. Thanks, Catherine. Catherine went ahead and just popped our website into the chat. It's globalhealth.jhu.edu. So another thing that we do at the Center for Global Health is we convene seminar series, and this really provides, again, just like a hub of information and a way to share resources. So if different groups, academic groups, PIs have something that they want to disseminate, we will often host for them. So we have a number of different series that we have recorded on our Global Health YouTube, Center for Global Health YouTube channel. Everything from stuff on the pandemic to the new Johns Hopkins India Institute series, and more. We also have a lot of we have a whole series that we also have videos on our website as well as on our YouTube site as well, for our Women in Global Health Exploring Non-Academic Careers seminar series. And that would be like a really great resource, I think, as well, for those of you who are, really, of course, I think everybody here is considering, right, what am I going to do with my career? Some really great advice and wisdom we have coming from different women in leadership positions. Thanks, Catherine, again, for putting the CGH YouTube channel link as well. So transitioning here to our Women in Global Health program, we call this EDGE, the Exploring Women, the Emerging Women's Leaders in Global Health. And basically EDGE is a network. It was kind of developed out of our seminar series. During COVID, we were like, okay, what are we going to do? Like, people need to connect. So, life has to go on as far as like connecting with people. So how do we do that, right? And so we ended up having this Women in Global Health Exploring Non-Academic Career seminar series. And in the chat of these series, as people were kind of just discussing in the chats, they're like, oh, we're having really great conversations. How can we, kind of continue this? And so people were like, oh, is there like a way that we could do a Slack network, and just to continue chatting together and just being connected? And so we said, yeah, absolutely. So we created a Slack network, and we have, I believe, over 1,200 people on our Slack network. I highly recommend to go ahead and check that out. If you just scan this QR code, that'll take you to the sign up link for that. Highly recommend it. Even if you're not on Slack all the time, by signing up, you also will receive like a weekly updates email from us, which includes, just kind of like the things that you would need to stay up to date. So are there any new seminars coming up? Are there some job opportunities? And then we also do a Slack member spotlight. So that way you can kind of get to know, some of the different members of the group. And if you're interested in connecting with them, there's just a link where you can just connect with them there. And you can also be featured as well. So if you're looking for a job, or if you're looking to connect with people in a very specific way, over a specific topic, this is a really great way just to kind of expand that network. And the network is truly a global network. There are, of course, a bunch of people from Hopkins on the network, but we also have members from, I believe, like 50 or 60 different countries. So it's pretty wide. We do host also, in addition to seminars, virtual networking events, which have been really cool, just to, again, build the practice of networking, because, just kind of in theme with the day to day of, finding a job, like it's really hard to do. It can be really discouraging. I remember when I was looking for jobs, to apply into those portals. I called them like the portals of doom. It's just, those big organizations, which are great, sometimes great to work for, of course. But just getting noticed can really be challenging. And it's not because you're not qualified. I think it's just because sometimes the people who are intaking those resumes, they're probably just inundated with a lot, and they're not necessarily the hiring managers, especially for like a larger company. Even like Hopkins, actually. The HR might not have like truly the full understanding of exactly what would be a great match for a particular project, I guess. So all that to say is, a really great in is, when you know somebody, right? People say it's about who you know. So, I was personally able to get the position that for my first job, after meeting the PI, who of the projects I was working on. The funny thing is, I had applied to his position previously, but we weren't introduced, right? So it's sometimes just a matter of just having one little introduction somewhere. So that's really what we're trying to foster with these networking events, is how can we really leverage these networks to work, not necessarily selfishly for one person or the other, but to really help rise with the rising tide, like all of the boats lift. So we've seen some really cool connections happening in the networking events, and in the Slack network as well, just stories of people with very niche interests. For example, there was one person who had an interest in global oral health. And I was like, I don't know anybody, like I can't connect you with anybody. I don't know anybody. But somebody else in the group knew somebody else who was interested in global oral health. And now they've been connected, and now they have actually started their own nonprofit organization in Ecuador, surrounding global oral health. So the opportunities are out there. I think it's a really beautiful place to see just the power of connection in such a virtual world, that and even in a virtual world, that the power of human connection is really potent. And it can be used for good, for the good of many. So yeah, highly recommend my long plug here for joining our Slack network. And while it is called Women in Global Health, everybody is invited to join. You don't have to be identifying as a woman. You just have to be supportive of all people in global health workplace. So yeah, just a little bit about that. And then here are just some ways I wanted to share for staying up to date. So for Center for Global Health, you can definitely, like Catherine kindly shared, our website, globalhealth.jhu.edu. And I would really recommend to sign up. We have a weekly newsletter that comes out on Mondays, and I will often post, sometimes like 10, 20 different jobs every week that have somehow come across my desk. Usually those are going to be where a hiring manager themselves has reached out to me. So it's a little bit closer. Maybe there will be like an email address for you could actually contact a real person, or send your cover letter and resume to a real person instead of just uploading it onto a website, which serves purposes as well. But it's like, can we get those more personal connections in there? So definitely recommend to sign up for a newsletter. There are also other really great global health job boards. One of the newer ones that I've come across recently is genderjobs.org. That has a lot of really cool jobs on it. And I'm not sure if you all are familiar with devnetjobs.org. The website is a little outdated, but again, really cool job opportunities on there. And then I'm sure most of you probably get Brandon Howard's IH updates, weekly updates. But if you don't, I would recommend to go here to the myjhsp.edu/site/IH. That's where he puts a lot of his job opportunities that comes across his desks as well. And then I've actually found a bunch of good job potentials on LinkedIn. I think I've heard people have really great success if you kind of do the LinkedIn thing for a while, but they also have a great job board, I would say, as well. And then, yeah, I would just say, if you have any kind of like specific questions about, networking, how do I really break into, this field, you can feel free to go ahead and send an email here to us at jhsph.ghgrants@jhu.edu. I'm on the other side of that email, so I'd be more than happy to to kind of point you in the right direction, or if I know of anybody who is in the specific area of a field that you're interested in, I can always connect you. I think one of the big things to really remember that we talk about often in our networking Slack group and networking events that we do is it's not always even who it's who who they know. So I always think of the idea of like, oh, like I heard of this, we met through a friend of a friend, right? Like it doesn't have to be my connection. It might be who I know. And then they might be able to send you in a different direction. They might be able to send you in a different direction. So it kind of becomes this, crazy web of networking. But it's just about making one connection at a time and just seeing where it leads. So yes, that was probably a lot. We have a number of things to to kind of take away. I would say we have the GHEFP for those of you who are MSPH students in your first year or a different 2-year program. Highly recommend keep your eyes out for that. January 2024 is when those applications open up. And then number 2 would be just to go to our website, get onto our newsletter. That way you'll be able to kind of see like everything that is coming up. And then also to go ahead and sign up for the Slack network. There's a lot of potential there just for connecting, and you never know, one connection can like put you in the direction to change your entire career. So those are my recommendations. I also wanted, I think we'll ask. I'll pause for questions before Catherine, before I go to you, just to see if anybody even maybe has questions about GHGFP. Then you can, maybe you might answer them as well. But I'll just go ahead and open up the floor to see if anybody has any questions for us. And my guess is you can probably unmute yourself. Let's see.
I have a question. I'm not
Sure.
sure if my audio is working well. Is it?
Yep, I can hear you. Yep.
I can type it. I can't hear.
Okay, sure. Yeah, you can type in the question and I'll look for it. Thanks, Daisy. While she's getting that in the chat, does anybody else have any questions?
Hi, I have a question. Just to reiterate, is the globalhealth.jhu.edu for potential job opportunities, is there a career button or sorry, I think I maybe missed how
No.
to see those current open opportunities. And from there, can you maybe expand on like the application process and like the timeline? Is it like a situation where a recruiter from the Global Health Center calls and then moves forward to a potential interview? And like how many weeks does it kind of take to get assimilated if you are a good candidate for that open job?
Sure. So let me just share my screen quickly. I'll just go right to our website here. So here's our website. We don't have a list of jobs on a board here, but what we do have is if you go to up here, subscribe to our newsletter. You can just pop your email address in here, and then every Monday, actually, if you do it now, it'll it should the email I believe is scheduled to go out at around like 2:30 today. There are a bunch of jobs that will come up like in the newsletter. So that's that would be best. That's kind of like how we keep it as like updated, is just by going through there through the newsletter. And then also if you sign up for this here, you'll kind of get notified when the GHEFP application period opens, because I usually put that like front and center on our newsletter when that opens up. But just a little bit more information about the process for the applications. If you just go here to JHU students from our website, from our front page, and then if we go down here, Global Health Established Field Placements. So there will be a call for applications here. And there will be like an operative like FAQ section here as well. But basically what happens is during this application and match process, you will review on the website like all the different options. And it'll be linked somewhere like right here. So you'll apply. The sites will receive the applications. You send them all to me basically. It's just one Google form where you upload like your 3 separate like cover letters, more or less, like applications. And then I send those directly to the PIs of each individual project, each individual site. There are like 50 different sites that get funded. So there's a lot of them. And then after they review, they may reach out for an interview. We do encourage them to at least reach out for a Zoom interview. I think it's really important to, have a conversation with who you're potentially going to be working with. So we do ask them to interview candidates if they see fit. And then students, you do rank when you submit the initial application. But if maybe you just got a better vibe, or just like thought you were actually more interested in one project or the other after you interview, you're able to go ahead and make a change to those rankings one time. So there's a process for that I tell you eventually. And then sites, after they've reviewed and interviewed everybody, they submit their candidate rankings. And then we go ahead and based on like a ranking algorithm, we make the matches based on both student and site preferences. So first we match like 1-to-1. So student, maybe you ranked the site first and the site ranked you first. That would be a 1-to-1 match. So we go through all of those. Then we go through and we match students' first choice to a site's second choice and see if there can be a match made there. So maybe I ranked the site first and they ranked me second, then that could be a potential match if their spot wasn't already taken with a 1-to-1 match, if that makes sense. And then we go down all the way to see how many matches that we can make. And then what happens is I send out like a letter that says, congratulations, you've been matched with this site. And then I give you a period of time to accept or decline the match and the placement. And then we offer that to you. The awards are made.
Question for you, Megan. How long is the placement, or does it depend by site?
Yeah, so it is a minimum of 8 to 10 weeks in country. Some
Okay.
of them are longer. Catherine, for example, Catherine, how long have you been in Tanzania?
Yeah, so I arrived in June, and I leave in December, so it'll be a total of 6 months.
Yeah.
I'm asking because I know many students require practicum to complete their degree and may be interested in utilizing this for that. But I believe at least most departments at minimum, it has to be 4 months. So just, if folks were thinking about how can I pursue opportunities for my practicum, if that's the case, this is definitely a great opportunity to
Yeah.
do so. And especially because it becomes available at the top of the year.
Exactly. And a lot of sites are like I would say willing and like to expand, right? So Catherine actually was initially signed up for a shorter time, but things were going really well, and she's like, and like they were able to expand. You can also extend, even prior, you can kind of send an email and be like, hey, like, are you like, this is what my program requires, like, are you open to, like a 4 to or however long month experience? I would say most would probably would be open to it. I think there's just a lot of value in having a longer stay. Of course there's financial implications for that as well, right? So you'd also just want to be clear with I guess, just how much everything is going to cost. What does your financial situation look like? What can the site offer? So yes, hopefully that answers the question. Was that clear? Yeah.
Yes. So we have just a few more questions, but I know that you mentioned wanting to switch over to Catherine. Would you like to answer those now or wait until after she's had the opportunity to share?
Let me see these questions, and then I'll see if it'll be a good thing here. Okay, so I'll just go quickly go through these, and then I'll pass it over to Catherine. So Daisy says, wondering if there were any opportunities that you may know that are domestic working with nonprofits globally. Yeah, I mean, there are definitely, I don't know of any that are like hiring like right now. I'm sure they are. But yes, there are totally domestic, like places. My guess is that you want to be like based in the States, but like working in a global nonprofit. Yes, like I would say there are a lot of different positions that are not based in country. So sometimes different like coordinating positions or like data management, or if sometimes even like implementation team that like does not require you to be on the field. But a lot of it, I think, I would say almost all, like maybe not all, but many of them probably would require you to be cool with like traveling a little bit for work. But with the way that things have kind of like shifted after COVID, like there's probably like more flexibility, like if you didn't want to travel to not. But again, it really just depends on the scope of work. But yes, opportunities are available. Let's see, Fontip says, where can I access the, okay, so I'll have somebody else do that. Serena says, are you eligible for GHP if you're part of the MPH program in 3 years? Are you a full-time student, Serena? because I guess probably no if you're doing it in 3 years. You have to be a full-time
Yeah.
student in order to do it.
That was my question. I'm a part-time student working full-time.
Mm.
So my degree will take more than 2
Yeah.
years, but yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no, unfortunately, yeah, just with the way that a number of different things work with like liability and and like insurance and other stuff, you have to be a full-time student. Let's see. And then yes, PhD students are eligible for GHEFP. Yes. You have to still be like coming back for graduation though after you return from your site. So you can't like graduate and then like go and do it, if that makes sense. You have to be like a full-time student like throughout the time of your GHEFP placement, so that you can like have like full student protections that the university avails you of. Okay, yeah, Catherine, I would love just to hear from you a little bit. Maybe if you just wanted to just briefly share, I guess, kind of what GHEFP kind of like has meant for you, and I guess if you had any apprehensions like before doing it, even just like in the application process, and then just kind of just like very briefly like what you learned, and if you want to generalize it, even just to even if it's not GHEFP, just like kind of the practicum experience in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be cool. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so I apologize for my video being off. One of the perks of being in Tanzania is we're currently experiencing some power outages. So we don't have power tonight. So instead of being creepy with my video on, I'm going to keep it off for now. But so I'm in Tanzania right now. I was here in June and I'll be here until December. As Megan mentioned, I was initially going to leave in September after my 90 days was up with my visa. But we were able to extend it. And so I'm able to stay for a bit longer. The way that GHEFP is set up is that they specify whether it's like practical versus research experience. So that's also something to like consider when you're looking at the different roles about which components you're most interested in. So mine's more of a practical experience than it is research. So I'm working with a local organization that has a primary school for some children that are here, along with a health center in some more rural parts of Tanzania. So my projects have consisted of evaluation of the health center in terms of their financial and business plan, and working with them to see how they can market their services and work on improvement for patient experience, along with developing a child protection policy for the school, as they do have so many global partners that come to visit the site as well. I will say that since arriving, my projects have changed drastically, and so they've shifted. So being able to be flexible with what your site and partner needs, I think, is really important. When I was at Hopkins during my first year, I knew I was going to apply for GHEFP sites, and they were definitely my top choice for practicum, just because you will hear a lot of people talk about the way that the global health field is shifting, and sometimes the goal is to run ourselves out of jobs. I mean, for good or bad. I think that's a nice thing, that a lot of times they're trying to hire within the country because they are the experts at the country that they're from. So I think that having these opportunities to be able to stand out as you continue through employment opportunities are huge, especially when you're applying to positions in the US, and want to be partnered with different global areas. I think it's nice to have this landscape on your resume as well. So the application process, I will say, take it seriously. It's competitive. If you look around at how many students are in your classes and everything, it's a competitive pool. So just try to do your best to stand out and really walk through the application and really utilize your advisors or other faculty to help with that, to really stand out. And then you'll hear this a million times, but just go in not expecting to be the expert helping them, but just kind of expecting to listen and learn from what your community partner has to say. I think that honestly has made a huge difference in my experience. And so I came in expecting 90 days because, one, that was what my visa approval was for a little bit. And then also because I wanted to make sure that it was a good fit before I committed to longer. I will say that I'm fortunate that my site is able to pay for my housing. So again, that was a huge factor for me in being able to extend financially. So like Megan was saying, definitely think about the big picture, because 3,500 is a lot and it made this opportunity possible, but also there are a lot of other expenses along the way. So consider all of that when you're applying and accepting. But it's been such an incredible opportunity. Honestly, you learn so much more from being in the country, I think, about some of the social structures and ways to really communicate with people, that you don't just necessarily learn via Zoom. Not to say that those practicums aren't beneficial, but it definitely is a special opportunity to be able to meet them face to face and learn about their background and where they're coming from in this field and how you could best support them. I think there are many lessons that I'm grateful for and will take back to my next job.
Thanks, Catherine. That's awesome. Love what you said. And one thing that you made me think of too was I sort of like the financial piece as well. That's usually something that, obviously students are usually not like rolling in it. I know I wasn't when I was a student, and travel is expensive. I would say that also, I guess as a lot of you may be student employees right now. So you might be like research assistants or something like that. For GHEFP, we do allow you to also continue working with the projects that you're working on, maybe like currently, if you are able to do that remotely and it's not interfering with your like the hours that you're doing in your GHEFP, then that is also fine. So a lot of people will maintain the research assistant positions that they have, kind of like in addition to their practicum experience as well. Catherine does that. Catherine's my research assistant. And so we've done that. When I was a student, I also did. I was working on different things like lit reviews, et cetera, just to kind of bolster the bank account. But also I would totally say as well, like really start planning now if you want to do, GHFP, I would say, is basically one of the only travel grants. So, if you're thinking, okay, I might want to do this, I would truly start thinking of your plans now of like, okay, like maybe I can just like start setting money aside now that I can use to maybe you're making money now, maybe just set aside a little portion of that for your summer plans, especially if you're required to do a longer practicum and there's uncertainty around whether or not whatever project you're going to be on will be able to support you financially apart from what we provide with CGH. So, and one last thing I'll just say, like CGH's role, like our role in this is very much of a liaison and like we introduce the students and the projects. So we're very much in like a connector role. So so again, like there's a lot of autonomy that the sites have, and that's kind of why they differ. So yes, I don't know if there are any other questions, but I'll just go ahead here and just drop my email address. It's really easy. It's just megan@jhu.edu. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Even if you have just like hey, I'm really interested in something like kind of more obscure. Do you know anybody? Like maybe I do, right? Like I'm now somebody who's in your network. Catherine's now somebody who's in your network. So yeah, happy to point you in the in a direction and see if it ends up being the right one.
Yeah. I'll put my email in the chat too, just in case anyone needs anything or has questions.
Thank you both. I know for at least the students that I've spoken with, that sometimes it is just that getting started and getting connected. So it is huge that you all are willing to just share your information and support in any way that you can. Also, thank you so much, Megan, for the information that you provided. I myself learned a lot today. So I'm sure the students who are on the call have as well. And it was great to hear about your experience in Tanzania, Catherine. So with that, that concludes our day for the Nonprofit and NGO Industry Day. All the recordings for today will be available in the next few business days. Please make sure that you go into Handshake and register for the event, even though it's already happened, because what happens is that it will create a list for us so that we can email out the video recording to all the registrants. So if you have not registered in Handshake, please go back in there and do so. And again, thank you guys so much for sharing the information that you did.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, you all enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.